Hello everyone, Mr. Nacho here, and today I have to be really quiet not to wake up my girlfriend. Look at how she's sleeping. Very peaceful, right? Anyway, I have a build for you that, well, I'm continuing the elemental trend that I've set with the acid build, but right now we are gonna focus on electricity, overloaded, and shock. So let's get right into it. The build goes like this. We have the Ritualist Prime archetype, so that we can use the Vile perk, which means that the victim receives 15% more status effect damage, and on death spreads all statuses to nearby enemies within 22.5 meters. And it's 22.5 since we have the amplitude maxed out. Then we have Miasma, casts an AoE burst that applies bleeding, burning, overloaded, and corroded to all enemies, again, within 22.5 meters since we have amplitude maxed out. And the secondary archetype, it's a choice that you can make. It's up to you. It's either a Gunslinger with the Bullet Storm ability, or this would be the Challenger with the Rampage ability. So whichever one you feel like is right for you, just go for it. Both of them work extremely well with this setup. When it comes to the armor, we have the Technician Helmet, Labyrinth Mantle, Survivor Leggings, and the Space Worker Gloves. I think that the setup looks brilliant, and I think that it really fits the electric build that we are trying to go for. When it comes to the relic, I am using Enlarged Heart personally with range crit chance, crit damage, and elemental damage, but you are welcome to use anything else that you feel like would be better for you. There are quite a few choices that you can make, like the Dragon Heart is great, the Tranquil Heart is very useful as well, even the Tormented Heart recently I found out is really good. Also the Void Heart if you are good at predicting things, or the Salvaged Heart, all of them are great choices. Next up, when it comes to the main gun, we have the Chicago Typewriter with Overflow and Momentum, and Overflow is an obvious choice since we are going for the shock and overloaded status. It increases our fire rate and reload speed by 15% for 20 seconds, so this is quite a lot. It means that we will chew through ammo a little bit quicker. That's why we have the ammo reserves from the Gunslinger. If you were to go for the Challenger, then you'll get strong back instead of ammo reserves, and you can spec into ammo reserves manually. So this is all fine. When it comes to our melee weapon, we of course have the Krelax, since again it applies overloaded and deals shock damage. We put also the Tainted Blade, so it deals 10% increased damage as well, since it applies corroded. And as a handgun, we have Enigma with Chaos Driver and Fetid Wounds. Fetid Wounds again just give us 10% increased damage, and Chaos Driver just does a ton of damage. Since we are using the Stone of Malevolence and we deal a lot of elemental damage, we will be able to spam the Chaos Drivers incredibly often, and they just do a ton of damage passively. Just make sure not to walk into them. Whenever we run out of the Overflow mod, we just swap to Enigma, shoot out the entire magazine, and then we will just have the Overflow mod back up and ready. When it comes to the jewelry, we have the Shock Device. Since we want to go for the shock and overloaded, this was an obvious choice, but the overloaded damage is increased by 50%, and it's a lot, and it just bursts, like it pops like a balloon, and the enemy HP just goes bye-bye. Then we have the Ahani Crystal. Since we are using Miasma, we will get 20% bonus multiplicative damage on every single damage that we do. So this is incredibly useful. With this setup currently we have 65% crit chance, so I thought that the probability cord is going to be useful as well, and it just proved to be so. Then we have aforementioned Stone of Malevolence, which just increases our mod power generation. And then we have Timekeeper's Jewel, so we can keep up the Miasma for 40 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 36 seconds, so it's permanent on every boss fight, except something like the Nightweaver, whenever she can just cleanse all of the statuses on her whenever she goes into a wall, but let's not talk about that. With this build, you are rather inclined to be quite close up, since you will be wanting to throw your Krelaxes, and they have travel time, so the further the enemy is, the harder it's going to be to hit. And also you want to have the Enigma, as it again has just limited range of 12 meters, then you want to be quite close to the enemy. That's why Challenger would be a great option as well, since it increases the damage the closer you are. And this time I didn't really spec into Regrowth or Triage or any HP regeneration trait. We just went for the enough armor so that we don't get one shot, and we are still at lightweight, so we are lightning fast. I know, bad joke, never mind. If we get hit, we can just use Enlarged Heart to get back to full easily, and we don't really get one shot since we just have barely enough HP and armor to, well, to just live through one hit. When it comes to our traits, we have Fortify to, again, just have enough, same as Vigor, to have just enough survivability to not get one-shot. Strong Back allows us to have the lightweight roll and have the drip that we are wearing. Then we have Flashcaster. Since we will be using a ton of Chaos Drivers, we will be popping the Bullet Storm, we will be using Miasma, and we will be popping Overflow, then it just makes it a little bit faster. Then Spirit and Expertise for cooldowns and additional mod power generation. Amplitude that we mentioned before, that affects the Vial perk, it affects the Miasma skill, and it also affects the Enigma, since the length of how far the electrical stream can jump to nearby enemies is increased up to 11.2 meters, so it's almost as far as the base range of the weapon itself, so it will be great for dealing with groups of enemies. This gun will be great for dealing with single enemies and bosses. Combined with Bullet Storm, we have all of the areas covered. We have both AoE and hard single target. The next one is handling, since the Chicago typewriter has this feature where it starts with its reticle quite big and then it just gets smaller and smaller the more you shoot. We just tighten it up a little bit so it's more accurate whenever we just want to burst and not go full auto. And also with the overflow mod and its fire rate, it's kicking quite a bit and it's quite hard to control, so this will make it a little bit easier. And then we have fitness, so that our evade distance is even further. It's already pretty far with the light dodge, but right now it's even better, so we don't really need to spec into defenses all that much because we will be able to get out of the harm's way extremely easily. Also, I am running the Darksider to increase my health, stamina and movement speed by the devil's number 666, and it's actually great. I like the additional movement speed and a little bit of additional HP. If you feel like you want more HP, you can just go for Mad Tonic, it will give you a little bit more. Another great option would be the Verdant Tea, to increase the stamina recovery and reduces the stamina regen penalty, so we will be able to spam dodges as much as you'd like. And the last one will be the Dark Fluid, which increases our evade and combat slide distance by 15%, so we will be just jumping hoops with this one just extremely far. Alright, so this will be all for the introduction. I have prepared some clips for you. Please let me know if there are any builds that you'd like to see, or any builds that you are trying to make but they don't deal enough damage, or you don't really feel like they are right. I will try to make them work. I've gotten quite good at it recently, I believe so at least. Let me know what you think in the comments below and enjoy the clips that I've prepared for you. And of course, have a great day.